Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a reading recap for the month of October 2022. If you're interested in seeing what books I read in October, please stick around. Okay, so October 2022, it was its own special kind of reading month, we'll say that. I was really excited when I filmed my October TBR. I had the idea of reading a lot of mystery thriller style books in the month of October. And things ended up not really going as planned, but I do want to just kind of dive right into the books and we'll end up talking about what happened. So the first book that I read in the month of October was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This was on my TBR. I had seen this book on YouTube, on Instagram a bunch, heard that it was really good, and it is part of Reese's Book Club, and I usually like the Reese's Book Club books, so I was very excited to read this. It is told in two different timelines. They're very close together. One's happening like a couple days before the other, and the book is told from multiple characters' perspectives, which I usually like. But I will say that overall, this book fell a little flat for me. I think that the mystery aspect of it, I was able to figure out kind of probably halfway through the book, or like 2/3 of the way through the book, and that's okay, but I think that it also kind of rushed the ending and you didn't really get a lot after the big event that occurs. And that was kind of disappointing. It really did feel very rushed at the end. So I ended up rating this a 3 out of 5, which, you know, I think I'm kind of being a little generous with 3 out of 5, but I would also say that I liked it a little bit more than like The Picture of Dorian Gray, which I rated 2.5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, it was just disappointing. I was just disappointed by that book. And I will say that finishing The Guest List ended up putting me into a huge reading slump, which I wasn't really anticipating. I have been reading very consistently since February of this year. I have not had any reading slumps. I haven't really had any difficulty with just picking another book up if I really don't end up enjoying something. And I don't know what happened. I think that after I read The Guest List, all of the other books on my TBR, like nothing was kind of like screaming out at me. Nothing was making me feel excited to read it. And so I ended up going almost a week without reading. I think I finished The Guest List on a Wednesday and I didn't pick up another book until the following Tuesday. And what I ended up doing was going to the bookstore. I have talked about in I think 1 or 2 of my other videos how I'm really trying not to do like a huge book haul for the rest of 2022. I'm trying to wait until 2023 to do a big book haul, with the exception of purchasing new books or new releases, I mean. And you're going to see that basically the rest of the books that I read in the month of October were all new releases, and they were all books that I like just recently picked up. So I went to the bookstore and I saw this book, and I was like, I think I just need to pick this up and read it. And that was When in Rome by Sarah Adams. So I read my first Sarah Adams book earlier this year. I read the cheat sheet. I randomly saw it at Target, picked it up because of the cover, ended up really enjoying it. And I had heard that she had a new book that came out, but I wasn't really expecting to pick it up and read it so soon. I honestly thought I would end up just getting to this book in 2023 at some point. But when I went to the bookstore, I saw this and I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm really gonna like this book. I really like the last Sarah Adams book I read. Maybe this is what I need to kind of get me out of my reading slump. So I picked this up. I'm so glad I did. I ended up really, really liking this book. It's a super cute romance, a little bit of grumpy sunshine, forced proximity. One of the characters is famous. It's a really interesting story. I really enjoyed the two main characters. And so I ended up giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. And to be totally honest, I love these characters so much. I kind of almost wish that Sarah Adams would make this into a series. Like, I think that the female main character's profession could lend itself to like more interesting storylines with these two characters. So I kind of wish this would be made into a series because I really love the two main characters. And totally was so happy that I picked this up and read this. After I finished When in Rome, I really didn't know what to read next. I still wasn't feeling excited about any of the other books on my TBR. So I ended up going to the bookstore, really not with the intention of picking up anything specific. I just wanted to kind of look around, see if anything, grabbed my attention. And I did go to the mystery thriller section, and I ended up seeing this book, which I have heard a lot about. I've definitely seen it a lot on YouTube. I've seen it on Instagram. I've heard it's really good. It is a book that would have been on my October TBR, but every time I went to the bookstore, and I went to like 2 different bookstores, it was sold out. And so I really actually wanted to pick this book up. I wanted to read it in October, but it was sold out. So when I went to the bookstore and I saw that they had a copy, immediately picked it up and wanted to give it a try. And that's The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. Definitely heard good things about this. Definitely heard this was interesting. And so I picked it up, started it right away. Definitely grabbed my attention off the bat. I was interested. I wanted to know more. I will say that I had a lot of like work stuff going on, non-work stuff going on. And so while I was reading this, I was almost getting frustrated because I didn't have as much time as I normally would to devote to reading. And it was like making me angry because I just kept wanting to read and figure out what was going on in this story. What I will end up saying is that the ending was a little bit disappointing in the sense that it ended up having a supernatural element, and that's okay. I'm not against that in books, but it's not at all where I saw the story going. And they do hint at supernatural things a couple times in the book, I guess, but I just felt like the mystery could have been solved in a way that didn't require a supernatural element, and I think that would have been more interesting. And so I was a little disappointed with the supernatural element of it, but I did overall enjoy the book, and so I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. After reading The House Across the Lake, though, I kind of felt like I needed to take a break from mystery thriller. I just felt like I wasn't vibing with that genre. And so I went back to the bookstore and I ended up picking a book up that is a brand new release. Literally it came out like 2 or 3 days before I picked it up. And that's It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. So I read It Ends With Us earlier this year. I did enjoy it. It's one of those Colleen Hoover books that I didn't love, but I didn't hate. I think I've mentioned several times that like, one of the issues that I have with Colleen Hoover is that I feel like sometimes her books don't need some of like the romantic through line that they have. And I feel like It Ends With Us is kind of a good example of that. The story is about a main character, Lily, and her relationship with a man named Ryle. That is the important relationship happening in It Ends With Us. But it does do flashbacks to when Lily was in high school, what she was going through with her dad, with her parents, and then also her meeting and forming a relationship with someone named Atlas. And while I do think that the flashbacks are necessary and It Ends With Us, I wish that they were really more so just focused on Lily and her parents. I don't think Atlas and that romantic relationship was necessary. It's not that I didn't like Atlas. I did like Atlas as a character. I just felt like that romantic subplot was not needed. So I did like It Ends With Us enough to want to check out It Starts With Us. And I actually saw, and I wish I could remember whose video it was, but I did see a video on YouTube. I watched it, I think, the day that I finished The House Across the Lake. And it was basically like, it was someone's spoiler-free thoughts on It Starts With Us, and they mentioned how this book was a lot more about Atlas, which I thought was really interesting. So, you know, again, even though I didn't think he was necessary in It Ends With Us, I didn't dislike him. So I ended up picking this up. I started it like super late at night one night. I ended up finishing it the following afternoon. I read this super fast. It was a really easy read. It grabbed my attention. It kept me wanting to read. And I actually ended up really, really liking it. And I will say that after reading It Starts With Us, it makes me happier that Atlas was in It Ends With Us, because we would not have gotten this book if it weren't for Atlas being in It Ends With Us. And I liked the Atlas-centric storylines. I liked Lily and Atlas together. I liked Lily's storylines in this book. I thought it all made a lot of sense, and I really ended up enjoying it, and I gave it 4.5 stars. So after It Starts With Us, I ended up starting a book that I picked up when I picked up It Starts With Us. Something kind of different for me. It is a romance, which, you know, I've been reading a ton of this year, but it's like a holiday-based romance. I've never read anything like that, because I've never read any romance prior to 2022. And so I haven't read anything that's been kind of like focused around a holiday. So I ended up picking this up. This is The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. And so it's kind of like Halloween themed. I'm reading this right now. I'm only about 30 pages in. I will say that I am enjoying it so far. It's definitely too soon to like have opinions at all, but I'm enjoying it. It's cute so far, and I'm really excited to continue reading it. The reason why I'm only 30 pages in is because there's actually still a week left in October. I'm filming this video a little bit early. I'm actually going on vacation towards the end of the month, right at the end of the month, and I really wanted to film this before leaving on vacation. That way I could post it while I'm away. So I'm anticipating, because this isn't very long, that I'm going to be able to finish this before I leave on vacation. I don't know, again, it's going to be a very busy, hectic week for me, so I don't know if I'll be able to start anything else before I leave on vacation. But if I finish this and start something else, it'll probably end up being like a short story or maybe a book of poems or something like that, that I could get through quickly. I will definitely update you all on my thoughts on this book when I do my November recap. But who knows? I might just finish this right before I leave. I don't know. But yeah, the first 30 pages are pretty good. And that is it. Those are all the books for my October reading recap. Definitely a very interesting reading month for me. That was only, what, 5 books? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that was only 5 books. Definitely didn't read a ton this month. Again, I had that whole week where I didn't pick anything up after reading the guest list, and it did take me a little bit longer to read The House Across the Lake just because I didn't have a ton of time to devote to reading. So I'm optimistic. I want to be optimistic that November is going to be a better reading month for me, and I will be posting my November TBR in a few days, so definitely be on the lookout for that video. If you have any spoiler-free thoughts about the books that I mentioned in this video, please don't hesitate to put them down below. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.